Welcome back to the Retire with Confidence podcast. This episode is sponsored by CWOs for Hire, which is our financial planning firm. Between now and mid February, we are open to bringing on new clients. We pause in mid February because things get crazy with taxes and tax planning and a lot of meetings that we have with clients. But between now and mid February, we'd be happy to talk with you about really any questions that you have regarding retirement planning. You can go to cwosforhire.com and click on the Book a Time link in the top right of the page. And again, we're happy to talk with you, answer any questions you have, and see if perhaps we are a good fit to work together for longer term financial planning. Today, we're going to cover an article that I saw online and it caught my attention right away. And it's interesting. I'm going to be a little bit negative on it today, and I'm not usually a negative person, but it definitely caught my attention. It was an article from MoneyWise, and we're going to have a link in the show notes here. But this article, the subject line, the header, Suzy Orman slams the 4% retirement rule as very dangerous. Now, I have nothing against Suzy Orman. In fact, I watched her decades ago. I remember a good friend of mine and I, we'd watch some of her episodes and try to guess if she was going to approve if somebody could afford it or not. That was fun. So I have nothing against her. But when I read this, I thought, oh my goodness, it's a little bit crazy. So essentially, Suzy Orman is saying that the 4% rule is too dangerous, and that we should only be, when I say we, people in retirement, should only be withdrawing 3% of their account. Okay, so let's back up a little bit and talk about 4% rule. Well, what is this? It's one of the more commonly known retirement withdrawal rules or strategies out there. It's been around for a long time, several decades now. And the idea is that if you look at your balance and you only take out 4% per year, you're not going to run out of money. That's a very safe withdrawal rate. You shouldn't have to worry about losing money or just running out later on in retirement because that withdrawal rate is low enough. And there's other factors in that 4% withdrawal rule. You can look all of that up. We're not going to cover every piece of that. But essentially, if you withdraw 4%, you're going to be fine. Suzy Orman saying, hey, in today's economic climate, 4% is too high. We need to back this off to 3%. And she even goes on to say, stop this. I'm going to retire at 60 stuff and start claiming Social Security at 62. She actually says that people should plan on working until at least age 70 or longer. I just flat out completely disagree, and that does not coincide with any of the planning that we do or what we see. Sure, some people do have to work till 70, just depends on how much they've saved up. But some people can retire, early 60s or mid 50s. I mean, it just really depends on where you're at in terms of your spending and what you've saved up for retirement to that point in time and how everything is structured. So, and I realize for purposes of an article like this, it tends to come out as hard and fast rules. But when you make a statement like 4% is too dangerous and you can only withdraw 3%, that's a little bit wild. That's just not entirely necessary. What's also interesting is that the second half of this article, actually, we hear from the creator of the 4% rule. And his quote was, my 4% rule was actually based on a worst case situation. An investor who retired in October of 1968 who ran into just a terrible, perfect, bad stock market results and very high inflation, which forces withdrawals up each year. So he is saying, hey, this is actually probably too conservative. And in fact, for himself, his withdrawal rate right now is 4.7%. So it's interesting that you have, on one hand, somebody who is fine, I got nothing wrong with Suzy Orman, is knowledgeable enough, is saying, hey, 4% is dangerous. You can't be doing that, which isn't true, by the way. And then on the other hand, the very creator of the 4% rule is saying, gee, that was really too conservative, really worst case scenario. I'm not even that conservative in my own account. This is the person that created it. So where do we fall out on this? Well, in a lot of cases, uh, we're looking at withdrawal rates somewhere in the 5 to 5.5% range. Now, that nothing specific, because again, it is always dependent upon your situation and what you need in retirement. So there is no absolute one percentage. But in a lot of cases, if we structure everything properly, we can get a lot more out of your money and get that withdrawal rate up into the fives very safely. How do we do this? Well, we've talked about this in many different episodes we've had. We've had episodes on retirement income guardrails, setting up different buckets, where we'll go through and talk about establishing how much we can withdraw out of the IRA. And we're not going to go into the retirement income guardrails. You can actually just Google retirement income guardrails or just the retirement income withdrawal rules, all those things, to where it will actually tell you exactly how the studies have come up with it. You have to dig a little bit, but it's going to talk about where do we come up with these different withdrawal rates and rules. It's probably going to pop up the 4% rule also, but you can look at all the different methods to figure out, okay, how over time are these things going to play out? And so what we've dove into and what we work with clients on is structuring all this in a way so that you set up individual bonds or cash for income for at least 5 years. And then that 5 years keeps rolling each year. But you set that up for at least 5 years. That way you have guaranteed income for the next 5 years. And the stock market can do whatever it wants, going up and down over time. But we want that market to grow over the long term. And having this structure and this consistency will allow you to then be more confident and also take out a little bit higher of a percentage rate from your investment accounts over time. There's other things that we do to improve that withdrawal rate in terms of tax planning, making sure that we are decreasing taxes over time in retirement, because that just puts more money in your pocket. So there's a lot of different pieces that go into this, but the main ones are understanding what are those guardrails, and we talked about that in episode, let me pull this up real quick. Guardrails, I believe, was episode 40. Yep, we talked about retirement income guardrails with Matthew Jarvis, another advisor, in episode 40. We've talked about retirement income buckets many times in different episodes, so you can go back and listen to those. But those are the keys. When people say, well, how do I get more money out of what I have? It's not always about saying, here's a number, here's a percentage, go for it, which is what a lot of online calculators do. It's, okay, here's what I have. How can we structure this? How can we put the guardrails in place? How can we set up the different income buckets? And how can we maximize how much we get to keep by decreasing our taxes over the entirety of retirement? All of that plays into how much you can get out of your money and your hard-earned savings, and really be able to enjoy retirement and not have this restrictive mindset of, oh my gosh, the world's ending, therefore we can only take out 3, maybe 4%. No. We encourage people all the time to look at what we're talking about from a planning perspective and figure out how much we can get out of the money that we saved, but also encouraging them to spend the darn money when you're in your 60s and 70s. Please enjoy what you have. Try not to restrict yourself so much. And that's really, really hard once people first retire, because they're worried. Understandably, they are worried about flipping that switch from earning and building up money over time to now starting to deplete it. And will they run out? Will they have enough? It is a hard mental shift. Well, what we've seen over time is that as people get a little further into retirement, they start to understand and start to get more comfortable knowing that they can take a withdrawal rate somewhere in the 5% range. And it's not a problem, because they see the structures working, they see the tax savings working, and they can see, well, we can go have a little bit more fun with our money. Don't go crazy. But a lot of times it's as simple as saying, okay, instead of a 7-day vacation somewhere, gee, we can make it a 10-day. It's not massive spending, but it's just a little bit more out of your money. Or maybe you can upgrade the flight that you're on during that vacation. Maybe you can do a home improvement project you've been waiting on. A lot of these things don't happen if you're only following a 3% or a 4% withdrawal rate. For some people in their situation, those withdrawal rates are what they need, but that's not everybody. And there are ways that this can be structured better to get more out of your money over the long term. So I brought this article to you today, not to bash it. I really don't like bashing, but to let you know that if you see these things online, because they're all over the place, don't get discouraged. Understand that that is one person's lens, one person's frame of reference. But a lot of the financial planners, including myself and many others, who really do a good job of structuring this and of using tax planning to reduce taxes over time, they will tell you and they will allow you and encourage you to take more money out and enjoy it, especially while you're younger, because when you're in your 60s and 70s, you can do a lot more than when you're in your 80s and 90s. That's just a fact. We see it all the time. And that's not with everybody. Some people are super active and they can keep going, but as you get into your 80s, it's just harder to even get on, long flights somewhere, long drives somewhere. It just gets harder. Enjoy time while you've got it. Use that money. Be comfortable with a little bit higher withdrawal rate. You'll really thank yourself over time. There's going to be a lot less regrets on what you didn't do. Please understand that when you see these articles saying that it's dangerous to go 4% or higher on withdrawal rates, they're just flat out wrong. Uh, your situation may very well allow you to take out more, and it's definitely something we should explore. So if you have questions on that, as I mentioned at the top of the show, our financial planning firm has openings through mid February. Please reach out to us, even if it's not a situation where we are a good fit to work together long term. We're still happy to answer questions and get you on the right path. So if you're not sure, reach out to us, reach out to another advisor, get the help you need. I think you'll be very happy when you find out uh, from somebody doing some good planning how much you can actually use in retirement, as long as they're using those structures and those tax savings to help get you more money out. So that way you can just enjoy retirement even more.